Okay, we're recording. So, good evening, everyone. This is Lynn Williams, and we're going to talk about some incredible information tonight. And I've been promising to do this webinar probably almost a year now, and I'm grateful to be able to get it together and present it to you. But I'm telling you, this stuff, I can understand why nobody really knows the secret, or nobody really goes into trying to explain it or understand it. It's magical in its use, and once you kind of wrap your head around it, it can be simple to understand, especially from the standpoint of using this information. But I'm telling you, to try to get to that point, it took me several weeks after I finally found the information I was looking for. I had to watch these videos, and I'll tell you, these videos are readily available on YouTube and various other places. Um, but it's mind-boggling because I expected some kind of spiritual explanation where somebody would tell us, oh, this is what it is, kind of like explaining numerology or whatever. And what I found is that this is more based into physics, mathematics, quantum sciences, practically everything but spirituality. So the first time I saw the first video, and I did tell you all about it in one of our webinars, and I think Joe went out and looked at it. I don't know if he was able to understand it right away or what, but it took me several views to wrap my head around what they were really saying. And then I watched several other videos, and in putting the pieces together, I went really deep down the rabbit hole. And I was glad that I did, because I learned a lot. So trying to get it together in a simplistic form where I could explain it in less than an hour and have you really understand it was a little scary at first. I was kind of concerned that I was going to be able to do it. So the way I decided to do it, to keep it really simple, but to give you enough of the background information so that you can understand what's really going on, is this. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I took the graphics that I'm showing you tonight from some of the videos that I found on YouTube. So I'm not plagiarizing anything. If you want the links to the videos, I can give them to you. And I really wanted to do it that way so that the people that really know what they're talking about could explain it to us. And that way you could get it without me trying to interpret and repeat what they were saying and getting it all messed up, because I tried to do that once before in a webinar and I didn't quite quote it correctly. So I took these excerpts, I took some little clips out of one of the videos that I was watching to help illustrate the points of 3, 6, and 9. Now, what I do want to say is I'm not going to blow your mind with what we're going to go through tonight. I did find a simplistic way of explaining it, and the fact that we are metaphysicians and we already know about some of this stuff without realizing it, it's going to be much easier. Once I went through it and start trying to put it together, I think it's going to be easier. I did put together this presentation, and I'm hoping it makes sense. It may be a little rough around the edges because it just took a while for me to put it all together and get it in a simple form. So we had quite a few people register for tonight, and I noticed that about half of you are here. So because it is 6 o'clock, Mountain Time, and it's later even back on the East Coast, we're going to go ahead and get started. And those that register but who are not present can always watch the replay, which is why we create it. So let's get started and go ahead and do this. I think this is going to be fun. And I do want to say, just as always in our webinars, if you have comments or questions as I'm going through this, please go ahead and put your comments and questions in the chat box. I will stop and answer questions to the best of my abilities as we go along. And if you want to talk and ask questions or make comments, then there's a little hand next to your name on your control panel, and you can touch that little click on that little hand. It will raise your hand and tell me that you want to talk, and that way I'll know that to unmute you and we can talk. Oh, and I see Reverend John, your hand is up. So let's start with the comment from you. Are you there, Reverend John? Hello, I hear you.
You hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, because my hand is showing red.
Oh, well, I don't know what happens on your end, but I can hear
I
you
don't
fine.
know. I don't know either. It must be some. It to me, it's a series of triangles. If you really look at it, you will see series of triangles. Right now, I counted nine triangles. If you look at it carefully, you can see nine triangles. Might be more. I'm still working on it. So
Well, I'll
don't
tell you
worry.
something. This is yes and no. That is true. There are, well, yes and no. I'll just put it that way. When I get into
Okay.
it a little bit more, it'll be clearer to you what's really going on. This is a three-dimensional picture of the flow of energy. And it really represents something called a torus, a Torus, which is um, a it's a three-dimensional flow of energy, which and just wait till let's talk about it afterwards, and then it'll make more sense, because if I try to explain it now, all I'm going to do is confuse you and me too. So, and this is the reason why I took these graphics directly from the videos that I saw. I didn't want to get stuck in trying to reinvent the wheel and go through a lot of stuff that I don't completely understand. And I will admit, I am not an expert on this. I will do my best to answer whatever questions you have. And the good news, though, is when I get through with this, you will understand how to use 3, 6, and 9, and it's going to be a piece of cake. That's what I brought it down to. And the fact that we are metaphysicians and already have half the knowledge, although we don't know it. But let's just get started and go down this rabbit hole together and have some fun with it, because I wanted to make sure that no matter what, we would have fun and that you would actually learn something that you can use in your everyday lives. And I think I was able to make that happen. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to turn off your mic, Reverend John, and then I'll unmic you when we get through and see if what I said makes sense. Okay, let's go do this. All right. As I started out by saying, this graphic that I pulled from one of the videos is a three-dimensional representation of the flow of energy. And it really does kind of distort the picture because it doesn't show you the energy in motion. But once we get further into the video or the presentation, I was actually able to copy clips from the videos, which will give you more information, more explanation. So this, I just love this picture because it shows that little yellow glowing heart like pulse point in the middle as everything intersects. But because energy is constantly in flow, as we go through this, you'll see what I mean. So let's just go, let's get going here. Okay, we're talking about the spiritual powers of 3, 6, and 9, because uh, numbers, the digits 0 through 9 are the basis, the foundation for our sciences, all sciences actually, but mainly physics, mathematics, chemistry, and of course our quantum sciences. But they are really, really complicated topics. And the scientists, as I was doing research, I was tickled to find out that they don't really know what all of this is all about. They have theories, and they write papers, and they make assumptions and projections. And one of the things that I found out in the process of doing my research, and this is based on some of the things that are coming out of the quantum science field, is that, we've always been taught the speed of light is 186,000 miles per minute, I think, or hour, whatever. I can't remember right now. But anyway, 186,000 miles per something. Quantum science has discovered that that's not true. I was just like, what? What do you mean that's not true? What they've come up with is um, speed of light. Light has no speed limit. Sometimes it goes slower, sometimes it goes faster. And the basis for this 186,000 miles, well, I'll just say miles per hour, um, is not accurate. And even though many of our great scientific minds have based a lot of their theories and discoveries on this constant, it really isn't a constant. So one of the scientists that was doing this video, and she just laughed. She said, "We don't know how fast it goes. We're just going on some assumptions." And so I figured if it was safe enough for these experts and these highly educated scientists to be confused, then it was certainly okay for us to be confused too. So I decided rather than to take this from a scientific standpoint, which would be too confusing, I'm twisting it or tweaking it, and we're going to look at these numbers from the spiritual perspective, because that we understand. So this is the spiritual powers of 3, 6, and 9, the metaphysical connection. Now, the number 3, we see it everywhere in life, and there are references to it in everything. We know from all of our religious teachings and traditional beliefs that there's the body, mind, spirit, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or Holy Ghost. Past, present, future. There are the 3 jewels of Buddhism, the Hindu Trimurti, which is the combination of the 3 gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the creator, the maintainer, I think it is, and the destroyer. Then there are the 3 kings that came to see baby Jesus. There are the 3 fates. We have the third eye. Even our DNA has a 3 molecule combination structure to it. So the threes are everywhere. Scientists even define the universe as a trinity: energy, vibration, and frequency. And we know what that is. Dr. Masters in our degree studies speaks all the time that everything is energy. And we know energy is always in flow. And that means a vibration and a frequency. We know that energy flows, it vibrates, as in your heartbeat. Your heartbeat is simply the vibration of spirit in your body, pumping the blood, keeping you alive. Your breath is energy and flow. Sound, energy, vibrations. We know that vibrations have frequencies. There are low-level vibrations, which are slow and dense, and there are higher frequency vibrations, which are faster and lighter. Low-level frequencies in our emotions bring resistance and challenge us because the energy is so dense, it's so hard and heavy, and we feel that. And it tends to be negative, or I should say it is negative. Higher level frequencies create flow and bring joy because the energy is lighter and positive, as in love and happiness and all that wonderful stuff. Now, if you've read any of the Abraham Hicks books, you know that Abraham refers to raising and maintaining higher level emotional frequency vibrations in order to be healthy, happy, and for maximizing our creative power to manifest our desired outcomes. These vibrations create structures, even if we don't see them. But our most common structure that we see in nature or in the world is triangles. We see pyramids, and everybody knows the mystery and all the investigation that's going on behind the pyramids, and they're becoming more and more aware of the fact that these pyramids that are found all over the world, not just in Egypt. In fact, the Egyptian pyramids are not the largest ones. The largest pyramid they found so far is actually in Mexico. I believe it's I can't think of the name of the place, but I believe it's in Mexico. But the thing is, what they're learning and finding with these pyramids is that they are power generators. And some of them are created in the form of a mercury-filled battery. So people couldn't be living in these pyramids or, working in them the way they thought they were years ago. And what they're finding is that the pyramids are more like power generators that created a world power grid. And we know Nikola Tesla was busy trying to recreate that free energy with a world power grid. And he is the basis. His beliefs and his practices are the foundation of this presentation I'm doing tonight. So the trinities are everywhere. If you look in ice crystals, earth crystals, they all conform to the structures of sacred geometry, of which triangles and pyramids are. That's part of what sacred geometry is, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now, the thing about sacred geometry is that these shapes all have points or intersections that form some kind of triangle or pyramid shape, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We've all heard that there's something special about the numbers 3, 6, and 9, that they have some kind of unique magical properties that unlock the secrets of the universe. Well, I discovered, yes, they do. They represent the intersections, the sacred energy portals, or points, if you will, where we can focus our energy and intentions as we create, or in order to create. We know that the universe is based in mathematics and physics, which are closely related fields of study. These fields are based in and work with the digits 0 through 9 and combinations of them in what are called formulas. We know that all numbers are spiritual in nature. We know that for a fact. However, 3, 6, and 9 are special. They are connected to sacred geometry, the Platonic solids that are the basis for the structure of the universe and all of creation. Now, the bad news is, to really understand them, you really need to go deep into physics, mathematics, geometry, and quantum sciences, and it's beyond understanding for most of us. It really is. It goes way out there, and you need to have that PhD to really understand it and work with it. And many of them, I'm finding, they know how to do it, but they don't understand it. Now, the good news is we don't have to understand how these sciences work, but only know that they work. And in order to draw the benefits from working with them, all we need to know is that, yes, this is real. And then we're going to talk about how we can work with them. It's kind of like having a car. You don't have to know how to make a car or how to repair a car to use the car. All you need to know is how to start it up and how to direct it to where you want to go. Using the power of 3, 6, and 9 is exactly the same thing. You can use them to empower your life and manifesting abilities by simply knowing of their existence and working with them to take advantage of their benefits in your life and as you work to help others. And better still, we're way ahead of the game because we have the key to the whole system. Oh, yeah. I didn't know it until I went into this research, but I found out we have the key. And I was getting ready to make a note because it was something I forgot to put in this presentation that I definitely want to tell you before we go. So I'm just going to write myself a quick note here. And I hope I remember to look at the note. I guess you guys probably know how that is. You write yourself a note and then you forget to look at the note. So anyway, so let's continue. We are way ahead of the game because we have the key to the whole system. And what quantum science is just becoming aware of, what they're just discovering, we as practical mystics and metaphysicians already know. So here's the lowdown on the 3, 6, and 9 from a scientist's point of view. So I'm going to play a couple of three little short excerpts from these videos to give you the scientist's perspective. And it's kind of fun to watch and see what he says. And then we'll come back and explain everything. There we go.
Nikola Tesla did countless mysterious experiments, but he was a whole other mystery on his own. Almost all genius minds have a certain obsession. Nikola Tesla had a pretty big one. Tesla had some interesting habits that he would do. For example, he would walk around the block repeatedly, 3 times before entering a building. He would clean his plates with 18 napkins. He lived in hotel rooms, only with the number divisible by 3. He would make calculations about things in his immediate environment to make sure the result is divisible by 3. He would do everything in sets of 3. Some say he had OCD, and others say he was very superstitious. However, the truth is a lot deeper. If you knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, you would have the keys to the universe. Nikola Tesla. His obsession was not simply with numbers, but especially these numbers, 3, 6, and 9. Tesla claimed that these numbers were extremely important, and nobody listened. But why these numbers? What did Nikola Tesla try to make the world understand? First, we must understand that we did not create math, we discovered it. It's the universal language and law. No matter where you are in the universe, 1 plus 2 will always equal to 3. Everything in the universe obeys this law. There are patterns that naturally occur in the universe, patterns that we've discovered in life, galaxies, star formations, evolution, and almost all natural systems. Some of these patterns are the golden ratio and sacred geometry. One really important system that nature seems to obey is the power of 2 binary system, in which the patterns start from 1 and continues doubling the numbers. Cells and embryos develop following this sacred pattern: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. Some call these patterns the blueprint of God. Math by this analogy would be God's thumbprint, leaving all religion aside. In vortex math, the science of torus anatomy, there is a pattern that repeats itself: 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, and 5, and so on. As you can see, 3, 6, and 9 are not in this pattern. Scientist Michael Rodden believes these numbers represent a vector from the 3rd and 4th dimension, which he calls the flux field. This field is supposed to be a higher dimensional energy that influences the energy circuit of the other 6 points. Randy Powell, a student of Michael Rodden, says that this is the secret key to free energy, something we all know Tesla mastered. Let me explain. Let's start from 1. Doubled it is 2. 2 doubled it is 4. 4 doubled is 8. 8 doubled is 16, which means 1 plus 6, that equals to 7. 16 doubled is 32, resulting in 3 plus 2 equals 5. You can do 7 doubled if you want, to which you would get 14, resulting in 5. 32 doubled is 64, resulting in total of 1. So if we continue, we will keep following the same pattern: 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, etc., over and over. As you can see, there is no mention of 3, 6, and 9. It's like they are beyond this pattern, free from it. However, there is something strange once you start doubling them. 3 doubled is 6. 6 doubled is 12, which would result in 3. Add 1 and 2 and you get 3. In this pattern, there is no mention of 9. It's like 9 is beyond, completely free from both patterns. But if you start doubling 9, it will always result in 9. This is called the symbol of enlightenment.
Okay, where's my little start button? I think I just skipped one. Hold on, let me go back. There we go.
The magnificence of the number 9. Let's say there are 2 opposites. Call them white and black if you want to. They are like the north and south poles of a magnet. One side is 1, 2, and 4. The other side is 8, 7, and 5. Just like electricity, everything in the universe is a stream between these 2 polar sides, like a swinging pendulum. And if you could imagine the movement, it's something like the symbol for infinity. However, these 2 sides are governed by 3 and 6. 3 governs 1, 2, and 4, while 6 governs 8, 7, and 5. And if you look at the pattern closely, it gets even more mind-boggling. 1 and 2 equals 3. 2 and 4 equals 6. 4 and 8 equals 3. 8 and 7 equals 6. 7 and 5 equals 3. 5 and 1 equals 6. And 1 and 2 equals 3. The same pattern on a higher scale is actually 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6. But even these two sides, 3 and 6, are governed by 9, which shows something spectacular. Looking closely at the pattern of 3 and 6, you realize that 3 and 6 equals 9. 6 and 3 equals 9. All the numbers together equal 9, both ways, excluding and including 3 and 6. So 9 means the unity of the both sides. 9 is the universe itself, the vibration, the energy, and the frequency. 3, 6, and 9. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla.
I don't know what's going on
They're
with
like the north and
PowerPoint.
south poles of a
Okay,
magnet.
we've already done this one.
One side is 1, 2, and 4.
Okay, it's messing up there. Anyway, that graphic, the reason I showed you those two graphics is to try and illustrate to you the flow of energy, and as it looked as though we were looking at triangles, and indeed we were, because 9, 3, 6, and 9 form a triangle within these other moving rectangles or forms that we saw. And that is a 3-dimensional representation of the torus, or I should say a 2-dimensional representation of the torus. The torus is the shape of the aura. These are 3-dimensional representations of the torus, the way energy flows. And as you can see, this is a picture of the Earth's aura or magnetic field. This is a picture of our auras. And as you can see, everything is going up, flowing out, and coming back around, in, up, and out. Now, these are vertical pictures of that same picture that we just looked at a minute ago, where the energy was going sideways, but it turned up so that the energy was flowing up and down. What you see is the representation of the aura, the energy always flowing from the bottom up to 9, up to spirit, up to the universe, as it flows through all of these other numbers and energy vibrations of whatever else it may mean. The energy always flows up and always flows in this torus, which is like a circle. Now, what Nikola Tesla did with this form, it looks very simple, and like the rays or the energy flow is in a straight line. But the truth of the matter is, these energy streams crisscross. And as they crisscross, they form something that looks more solid. Now, I know some of you have probably heard of the Tesla coil, and I did find a picture of it somewhere in the research. I couldn't find it today when I was trying to put this together. But the Tesla coil, which is his 3-dimensional representation of the flow of the universal energy, it looks like a woven basket. From when you look at it from the top or the bottom, it's a coil, a bunch of wires that are woven together, crisscrossing and flowing in and around and through. And that's the energy as it really flows through us, through the planet, through the universe, through everything. So in thinking about this 2-dimensional flow of energy, I wanted to give it to you so that you could see how the energy flows between the numbers, and how 3, 6, and 9 are outside of that basic pattern, and yet they are related. And I don't know if you caught what he said when he mentioned, if you add up all the numbers 1 through 9, and then reduce the numbers. Like if you add them all up, I think they come up to 36. If you add 1, 2, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, 6, and 7, so forth and so on, I think it comes up to 36. And then when you reduce that, 3 and 6 it equals 9. So no matter what you do with the numbers, no matter how you put them together, they always, when reduced, come to 9. And I found some other information that I'm not going to go into now, but it has to do with the arcs and angles in a circle. They still always add up to 9, no matter what you do. It was just amazing. Now, this energy flow, the pattern of it is called a torus. It's the pattern of the energy that flows around all creation, the universe, galaxies, the solar system, planets, even us. You can see it in the shape of our auras, the Earth's energy field, and the heliosphere, which is the energy field the sun creates to protect the entire solar system, which is the aura sun, as it creates, it's created around our solar system. And it's huge. It's huge. I was watching one of my favorite science shows, I think it was How the Universe Works, and they were talking about, a Voyager 2, I believe, just a couple of weeks ago, finally passed the edge of the heliosphere. It has taken all of these years, what has it been, 40 years, 30 years that it's been out there flying, heading out of the solar system? Well, it just here in the last few weeks got out of the solar system. And what it's found way, way, way out there and at the edge is just amazing. So if you ever get to watch that show, they were totally surprised by what they found out there. And so the universe is more mysterious. The more we look at it, the more mysterious it gets. Now, scientists know the science, the mathematics behind the power of 3, 6, and 9, but they're just discovering the key to unlocking the power of the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Now, through the quantum sciences, they have discovered the key, and that key is consciousness. Hello? Any of you surprised? Because I wasn't when I heard this, and I said, you got to be kidding me. You guys just not getting that? But then quantum sciences are what's bringing the science world into the metaphysical world, where we're finally beginning to come together, and they're beginning to discover and learn what we as metaphysicians have always known, and that there is only one thing in the universe, and that is consciousness. In all of creation, the only thing that is real is consciousness. And what is consciousness? It's energy, vibration, and frequency. We don't have to know the science, excuse me, behind these numbers. We just need to learn how to use them to tap into their spiritual energies. And you do that through consciousness, your intention, your awareness. As you know, people see numbers all the time, and usually they're in sets of 3 of the same number, 3 1s, 3 4s, 3 6s. But the incredible thing is, no matter what the numbers are, 1s, 2s, or 3s, if you add up the numbers and reduce them to a single digit, they equal either 3, 6, or 9. Now, if you look at these numbers I gave you, triple 1s equal 3, triple 2s equal 6, triple 3s equal 9, triple 4s are 12, triple 5s are 15. 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. 15, 1 plus 5 is 6. Triple 7s are 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. It just comes back to those 3, 6, and 9s. That's the reason why they are so special. They do govern and control the energy of all of the other digits in one way or another. So you can begin to see that there is something mystical and mysterious to working with these numbers. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 are like the keys to sacred geometry, which is the structure of everything in creation. Now, we won't go deep into the physics of what that is, but I'll briefly describe what sacred geometry, or what they call the Platonic solids, are. And there are 7 of these geometric shapes, or Platonic solids. I became familiar with what they were when I got into studying crystals, because they are part of the structure. The sacred geometry is part of the structure of the crystals on the very microscopic level. When you get down to looking at what the crystal structures look like, they basically form sacred geometry shapes. These shapes or patterns appear in everything from crystals, snowflakes, rocks, leaves, trees, the sciences, even the microscopic world. When you start looking into the structure of the things beyond our physical vision, they are shapes of the sacred geometry. So these shapes appear in buildings, even the ones that animals and insects make, and the ones that we build. They appear in space. Everywhere and in everything you will find some kind of sacred geometry shape in one way or another. So here they are. Now this is the first one. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 are the keys to sacred geometry, which is the structure of everything in creation. And like I said, we won't go deep into the physics of what that is, but I'll briefly describe what sacred geometry or platonic solids are. And these 7 shapes are starting with the tetrahedron, which is the familiar shape of a pyramid. It has 4 triangular faces. Now, when we talk about 3, 6, and 9 and the portal points that I mentioned, the energy portal points, that's the nexus of where the 3 lines come together to form a point. Here is a nexus. 3 lines coming together, forming a portal point. This is why with the tetrahedron, the 3 is the number that governs the point where these lines always come together. It's a nexus that is an energy center that we can use to focus by just setting our intention to use it. Another one is a cube, and you probably wonder, well, how is this a triangle? Well, it's because even as a cube, it comes together, and there are 3 lines that intersect that form a triangle. No matter how you look at it, 3 lines coming together, forming a triangle. In the situation with the cube, there are 6 square faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is the one in the front that you can't see. Well, you can see it if you just, you have to be aware of it. But there are 6 faces to a cube. Next one is an octahedron with 8 triangular faces. We are most familiar with it by calling it a rhombus, for those of us who took geometry or advanced math sciences. And basically, it's 2 tetrahedrons stuck together. You can see that there's a triangle a pyramid on top and a pyramid on bottom. And it has 8 triangular faces. There's the dodecahedron, which has 12 pentagonal faces. And again, where the 3 lines come together, we form a triangular point. Now, this particular cube, if you will, or shape, has 12 faces. And we see these in certain chemicals or certain structure in certain chemicals or crystals or whatever. They are the solid form of you only see this when the crystals, when the fluids, the liquids that make a crystal, you see this shape form when they start to solidify and harden. I watched a video on, it's on YouTube if you guys want to watch it later on. It was very interesting. It was put together by a scientist, and I can't remember which university he's from, but he actually put this together back in the 50s. And he was playing around with all these chemical combinations, making crystals. And it was fascinating to watch him take liquids and put them together and then let them dry and then put them under a microscope. And you could see all of these various shapes forming in these crystals. Then we have the icosahedron with 20 triangular faces. Now, this is one that's really beautiful, and you can always see the triangles. Every single one of them still has the triangles, no matter how many other intersections. It's made up of triangle shapes. And this one is a 3-dimensional, they call this one the icosahedron, but there's a variation of this particular one, which is this one. This is called the Merkaba. It's a star tetrahedron, which is, this has actually tetrahedrons hadrons that are blended together, not just end to end like with the rhombus, but they are meshed together to form a star. It's also known as Metatron's cube. And because it has 20 sides of its own, and it's this combination of all of these, basically all of these geometric shapes, it has special powers. And according to spiritual texts, what have you, Metatron was, I believe he was, when he was alive on earth, he was Enoch. And when he was taken into heaven, he's one of the few humans who didn't, I think there are two, Enoch, and I think the other one was Ezekiel, correct me if I'm wrong, but Enoch was one of two human beings who did not die first in order to become an ascended master. They were taken into heaven, taken up by spirit, and given angelic or ascended master status because of their, I don't know exactly why, but it had something to do with the way they worked on the earth or their purity of heart, whatever the case was. And Enoch became Metatron, Archangel Metatron. And he's the one that controls the magic of the sacred geometry of creation in all of the universe. And so to have a Merkaba, and I do have one, I have crystal representations of all of these stones, of all of these shapes. I use this one very often in the crystal grids that I make because I figure if Metatron is using it to help create stuff, then I'm going to use mine too, because I don't have to understand how it works. It's just like I said, it's like a car. I don't have to know how to build a car or repair the car. I just need to know how to get in it, start it up, and drive it to where I want to go. But this is a particularly powerful geometric shape because it's a combination pretty much of all of the others. And then we have the sphere. Now you wonder, since it doesn't have any points, there's no lines to make triangles, why does this qualify, or why is it considered part of the Platonic solids, the geometric shapes? Well, it's because of the fact that, first of all, it's a sphere. It's round, it's whole, it represents all there is. Everything, all of the other shapes that I've shown you are contained within the sphere. Now, the sphere is the three-dimensional representation of it. It's like a ball. You can call it a globe, a ball, whatever. But if you look at the two-dimensional version of a sphere, it's a circle. And that may make it more easy for you to understand how it contains all of the other shapes. If you draw a circle and you draw a line from one side to the other, if you draw one side to the other and then across that to the other, you'll get 4 parts of the circle. And within the middle, there are 4 points. Those arcs where the lines come together, including the outside of the circle, are called arcs. Now, if you haven't taken geometry, it may be a little bit mysterious, but don't worry, I didn't take extended geometry out of past high school, but I do remember the arcs because that stuff drove me nuts. But anyway, if you draw more lines from the side to the middle and continue making more arcs within the circle, we know that there are 360 arcs in a circle. And when you reduce that number, what do you get? 9. 360 arcs in a circle. 3 and 6 plus 0 equals 9. So this is why this circle, this globe, represents the whole, the universe, inclusive of everything. So no matter how you divide this circle up, and one of the videos that I was watching showed how you could make 2 arcs, 4 arcs, 12 arcs, whatever. The degrees of the arc, when you add those numbers up, will always come up to 9. It was fascinating. Now, in the structure of the universe, which is based on sacred geometry, the Platonic solids, there's always an occurrence of 3 lines coming together at one point or another. And at the point of intersection is a point creating a triangle, a trinity, which is in reality an energy portal that we can use to focus and enhance our creative abilities. So when you're visualizing, you can think about a triangle, think about a pyramid, you can think about any of these geometric shapes as images in your mind to help energize your manifesting abilities. If we use this basic mathematical principle in our daily lives, especially when creating the manifestation, and manifestation is concerned, our chances for success are much more likely because we're working with the power and structure of the universe. In the structure of the universe, which is based on sacred geometry, there's always the occurrence of three lines coming together, and at the point of intersection is a point. Did I just read this? Looks like I duplicated a structure, a slide. No, I didn't, but the information is similar. So if we use this basic mathematical principle in our daily lives, especially when creating and manifesting, our chances are much greater within the power and structure of the universe. And we as practical mystics, metaphysicians, can tap into this power because we already know that what consciousness is. And so we can use this by visualizing on these thoughts, on these shapes. We can use this by thinking about the number 3, 6, and 9, and setting our intention. That's one of the reasons why we do things like 3 breaths in and out. We look at harmony as being a balance of equal numbers. We talk about our trinities, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, past, present, and future. All of these are in our minds. We have pyramids and triangles and all of these various shapes, cubes, and everything that we see. So we already have the physical representation surrounding us, and this is how we can pull it into our manifesting abilities. In the beginning of the presentation, the videos, we talked about Nikola Tesla using everything that he did in sets of 3. He walked around 3 times. He used 18 towels to do his dishes. He always stayed in a room where the number added up to 3, 6, or 9. In his formulas and everything he did, he tested them out by seeing, do they equal 3, 6, or 9 when he reduced them to the simple numbers numerologically. Well, you can do the same thing by simply using the number 3, 6, and 9 when you're doing something. 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out, 6, breaths in and out in a sequence when you're meditating. You can use the number 3 if you're writing something. Use the time if you want to, like we do the abundance checks sometimes on the new moon cycle. Well, it's easy enough to just decide, I'm going to write this at noon. I'm going to write it at 3 o'clock or 6 p.m. or whatever, 3:33 in the afternoon. You can use that to empower the power of the abundance check. One of the things that I wanted to mention, which is a very special thing that's happening for us now, and also remember dates, which is really important. If you're trying to create a project and maybe you want to start a business or you want to open something or you want to do whatever it is you want, think about the date you want to launch this project. Think about the date you want to sign those papers. Think about the date you want to be in that place. Those numbers work. They empower your intention because you're going to fire those numbers, that date, that time, with your conscious awareness that you're trying to create or do something. Now, 2019, we're just about to go into 2019. Guess what the number 2019 adds up to? 3. So we've got an entire year of manifesting power sitting, waiting for us to take advantage of it. So all you have to do to plug into the energy of 2019 is choose when you want to set a time, a date. Maybe you want to make an appointment to do something really important that you really want to happen. Choose a day of the month, maybe even an hour of the day, where the numbers combined with 2019 will equal 3, 6, or 9. It's that simple. And set your intention. Write down what you want. Maybe you want to write it 3 times, maybe only 1 time, but maybe you want to read it 3 times. It's about using these 3 numbers in the work that you do. It's about being consciously aware of the fact that they can help you to manifest and create simply by thinking of them, by using them. So when I mentioned in the beginning that, we have the key as metaphysicians, we already know how to use our conscious intention. We already know how to write affirmations, how to meditate, how to do all these other things that scientists most of them don't even believe in. But we can use the power of the numbers 3, 6, and 9 to empower, energize, and to set the vibrational frequencies of the energy we're trying to manipulate, to put together, to form. And I just, I've always been curious about why we take 3 breaths in, why we do these things in sets of 3, why 3 is such a prevalent number in the world. And now it's because it's a number that controls the creative power of the universe, and we have it at our disposal. So for 2019, make those plans, set your intention, get out there and set those dates. And if you want to do something spectacular, maybe you want to start on January 2nd or January 5th. Figure out what your date is, February the 1st or February the 4th, coupled with 2019, and just be aware of when you add those numbers up, they come up to 3, 6, or 9, and make that your intended date for implementing or starting something new. It's as simple as that. And when you get into another year, when we go into 2020, where that equals the number 4, you still use the dates of the calendar, the month and day, so that whatever you're doing will equal to 6 or 9 or 3, because the month and day you choose will add up. Well, when added to 4, will give you 3, 6, or 9. So you can use this for the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Oh, Reverend John's making comments. He's talking. I hope it does, because I wanted to simplify it in a way that someone who has no knowledge of geometry or math even could understand what could be, how to use this. And basically, all you need to do is, when you're trying to do something or setting an intention, you are conscious of the fact that the date and time that you're using or whatever is equal to 3, 6, or 9. This brings in numerology, which is an esoteric science. It's a metaphysical science. And, we always reduce our numbers, no matter what it comes up to. We always reduce the entire number stream down to a single digit. And so the only thing you need to remember is that when you add up the dates that you're going to use for something, add the year. You always want to add the 4-digit year and the numerical value of the month and day. And maybe you even want to include the time. Make sure it adds up to 3, 6, or 9, and you got it. That's all you need to do. Now, Reverend John was saying, if we look at motivation truths, there are 6 affirmations, and when done for 7 days, we come up with the number 42, which reduces to 6. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to unmic you, Reverend John, because you were wanting to say something. And anybody else that wants to make a comment or has a question, please either write it in the chat box and I'll go in and read it and we can talk about it, or you can raise your hand and we'll discuss it. I would love to have some feedback on what you think, and I hope I explained it in such a way that it makes sense to you. Reverend John.
Yeah, yes. All I noticed while you was talking about this, when you look at the number of affirmations that we have, that Dr. Masters gives us, and we do 7 days, it usually comes up to a 6 or a 9 or one of those numbers. I noticed that. So
wow.
It shows us that he probably knew this, but just didn't say it, because we would discover this as you just discovered it. You talking about it, I looked at our manual,
I'm
And
sure he knew it.
he's been giving us this knowledge just through the number of affirmations we are making. And if we do them at certain times, we're coming up with one of these power numbers.
I think the reason he didn't do it, there was a lot of mystical information that he did not include in our basic curriculum, and he did that to keep the study pure and unoffensive to some who might be turned off by some of the more esoteric metaphysical principles. And I know that that's one of the reasons he doesn't talk too much about crystals, although he does mention them. And he doesn't get into other, studies that would be just a little bit maybe of a turnoff to some people who just want the pure metaphysics without any of the fluff. And so I hadn't really paid attention to any of this numerical information that he may have secretly incorporated into our study guides. But if you discovered it's there, then it was intentional. He was that way. He would never do something accidentally or just like, oh, look at what I did. No, he had intentions, and there were purposes to what he did. And I can definitely see that in some of the now that you mention it, in some of the affirmations and whatever that he gave us. And he always recommended to do it for 7 days.
Here it is. And so,
Yeah.
so for someone like myself, when I'm working with someone, I can bring out these very important facts about the value of these numbers and what it can do for them, which in my mind would make someone more diligent in doing their affirmations for 7 days. And even if they have to break down the number that you see, you know that if you're breaking them down, you can calculate for yourself which one of these numbers it's going to give you, and that's another way of empowerment and empowering out the people we work with.
And that's all I wanted to do with this information, was to at least give you a cursory understanding of the numbers. And when I started getting into it and looking at it, realistically, I thought, you don't need to, I really was surprised and happy to find that we don't need to know the science. All we need to know is how to use it. And that's when I came up with the analogy of driving a car. Just get in, start it up, and drive it to wherever you want to go, and let the scientists deal with all the technical stuff behind it, because it's really very simple. It's just a matter of being aware of what it is. And astrologers, psychics, numerologists, all of those spiritual, mystical people know this inherently, and they will do things. They make appointments and do all kinds of things based on the numerology of 3, 6, and 9. And now you all know what it is too, and you can start to incorporate it into your work and your projects intentionally. Remember, it's the conscious, intentional use that fires it up. And it's just like when I saw that the scientists, they're all just excited about the fact, oh, we discovered that consciousness is what's all behind this. And I'm like, really? That's what you are so excited about? Well, it took them a long time to get there, but thank God they finally did. And maybe that's why quantum sciences are taking us forward in leaps and bounds, because they finally got the key, and now they can unlock a lot of information that they couldn't see and understand before, because they didn't understand or acknowledge consciousness. So it's just, I thought it was a marvelous revelation that the scientists are starting to look at things from a totally different perspective. And they discovered this accidentally. I was looking for one other graphic that I saw, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I've seen it a couple of times, and I'm sure now that this is done, I'll probably find it tomorrow. They did a test where they were shooting some molecules. They had a little box, and in the middle there was a divider, and so they were shooting these light molecules through 2 slits in the divider and seeing what happened when these molecules reflected on the wall of the box at the other end. And they noticed that the reflection came out as a wave pattern, some kind of wave pattern. and they were trying to figure out, well, how are these molecules making this wave pattern? And no matter how many times they did it, it created this wave pattern. So it was something intentional. So they were trying to figure out how. So they decided, well, let's put a camera inside the box so we can see what's happening as these molecules are being shot through these two slits in this paper. And to their dismay, the pattern changed. It did not, the molecules no longer created the wave pattern. It did something totally different. And that blew their minds because they were like, well, what just happened? You know, what changed other than the fact that we put the camera in and then the light bulb went on? We're watching. Our intention, our consciousness influenced the way these molecules behaved just because we were watching. So, you know, think about that, you know, just the simple awareness of something can influence the outcome. And Dr. Masters talks about this all the time. All the time. So anyway, that's about all I have for you guys tonight. I see Joe made a comment here. He says, all a divine time, and now was the perfect timing as we start 2019. Absolutely, Joe. And that's what came to me the other night when I was starting to put stuff together. I thought, oh, this is perfect. We got to do this in time for people to be able to see this and watch this webinar a couple of times and really get it, so that when we hit 2019, we're going to hit the ground running, and you'll be able to start scheduling your events or situations or projects, whatever it is you want to do, and just play with the numbers and see what happens, see if it gets easier. And it should be easier. It should be more magnificent when you start to see the results, because universe is just there for us to take, you know, and use as a tool for the things that we want to do. We are co-creators with the universe, and the awareness of how the universe works. You can always use something better when you know how it works. So, are there any questions or comments or feedback? Anybody want to say something? Reverend John, were you through? Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I'll just add this one thing. As practitioners, if we understand this, this is an excellent way for anybody to grow their practice. For this reason, you work with one person, and this person goes out into the world, and everybody sees that this one person is making these changes and having all sorts of, well, exceptional gains. And they say, well, how are you doing this? And that person says, well, I'm working with this metaphysician, and this is what he or she teaches me. That same person is going to say, well, who do you work with? And our clients can get us more clients based on their growth. When people see growth, they want the same thing. That's how it works. I want some of that too. So this is a good way that I discovered. Now that I know this and I recognize it, I can work with my clients to the point that as they go out into the world and people begin to see that they're growing and becoming more successful, they're going to say, well, how are you doing this? And they're going to say, well, I'm working with so and so. I work with this one. Are they taking any more clients? Our clients can advertise for us.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what this information is meant to do. I mean, just start using it, and then when you are seeing results, you certainly want to share it with your clients and those around you to help them in any way to, you know, ease their way through life. I mean, maybe one of your clients is thinking about moving or changing a job, and you want to, you know, tell them, well, you know, this is a day that you want to make your appointment or your date to move on this day, or because it'll be easier. Maybe you want to set your interview date for this day because it's more favorable to you. Now, one thing I want to say, so that no one gets the wrong idea, this isn't a magic bullet that makes everything go perfectly so that now you can just do everything and it's always going to work out right. That's not the point of this presentation. This is to help you empower your creativity and your manifestations. In other words, it's adding flavoring to the mix so that you can do better, bigger, and faster. And that's what this is about, because as you know, creating has so many variations or so many variables when it goes into making something happen. And we still and always must remember that everything is governed by divine will and the seven universal laws. So you can set your intention and, you know, do everything that you're supposed to do to give yourself the best possible chance of getting your desired outcome. But be aware that it may be different than you expect. Maybe it doesn't come true on that particular day, but you can rest assured that you have given it your best and done everything you can. And you should see an increased realization of manifesting your desired outcomes, having things go better for you. This is just another tool to put in your box to help you to be a better manifester. That's all my intention is, to give you more information to help you do bigger, better, and more. So I see Christy has a question here. She says, her question's about a birthday number. She said, would it have any meaning if our birthday adds up to 3, 6, or 9? Well, yes, but you need to go talk to a numerologist for that, because I don't really analyze numbers when it comes to things like that. But just know that it means that you do have that extra added energy push or blessing, I should say, because you're born on a date that is the power of 3, 6, and 9. And astrologically and numerologically, I'm sure there are benefits that you can use. My birthday, I believe, comes up to number 4. And that is about, you know, getting grounded, getting based in reality, and things like that. So the numbers do have value, and you want to look at what that means for you. I can do some interpretation of the numbers for you if you want to send me a message. I do have some information about what it means, but if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of what that may mean for you and how you can use it to your advantage, you probably should go and talk to a numerologist. And I do believe there's some in our group. So you could post the question and somebody's going to answer it for you. So you're welcome. Does anybody else have a question? Reverend John, you have any more comments? Nope, I guess not. All right. Oops. He's muted. Okay. He's no. Aram, thank you, Reverend Lynn, for having taken the time to research and then taking the time to teach this information. You're quite welcome. I do my best to try to give you guys as much as I can. And when I discover something new, I'm always excited to share it and help you, because it's my intention to, you know, like, to just make your way easier, to give you what I know, to share my knowledge and wisdom. It doesn't do me any good to keep it to myself. And besides, I love so much, you know, to teach and to share, to be able to tell you guys this and have you go off and experiment with it, and hopefully come back to the group and share some of the things that you've discovered or learned or experienced as a result, because that's how we all grow. And I would love nothing better than to have you all come back and tell me something happened, something magnificent happened as a result of what you learned tonight. So if there aren't any more questions or comments or anything like that, we're going to call this one a night. And I want to say thank you so much for being with me tonight. As you can see, I chose this picture of cracking the egg, getting out there and, you know, opening up the egg and discovering all the luscious goodness the universe has inside for you, because everything in creation basically comes from an egg, an idea, a thought. So this is all about getting out there and experimenting with the knowledge that you have and playing with it and being the masterful creators you were born to be. So thank you all for attending. I love your support and you've been so attentive. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the group tomorrow as usual. So take care. Love you all. Have a blessed evening. Good night.